Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Edwards with Critical Groove Theory TV and CusoLife.com. I'm sharing a video with you today in regards to an artificial intelligence platform called ChatGPT-3 or ChatGPT. We're on version 3 now, but it's called ChatGPT. It's an artificial intelligence platform that is going to be incorporated into our lives if it's not incorporated already. If you have an Alexa app, if you utilize Siri, then you're already utilizing a voice recognition system. So it's already in your life. But moving forward, you're going to start hearing about this more and more. And I'm bringing it up because of the concern about the ethical ways that we use technology. So basically, do you want to have a Star Trek life or do you want to have a Terminator life, right? Do you want technology to be utilized as like a hammer and nail, as a tool to enhance your life? Or do you want, well, I know you don't want it, but are we moving in a way where technology is going to be like the Terminator movie, where at some point in time, it's just going to take over humanity and create and cause utter destruction, some type of apocalypse? Now, I don't want anybody to get alarmed by that remark, but it's still something important to think about because we are in that space right now. Artificial intelligence is here, and it's important that we take control of it. We as human beings take control of it and not allow it to take control of us. So there's an ethical component of this technology, as there is in everything that we utilize in this world. So I'm going to play a couple of videos that discusses this technology. The first one is going to be two men that's discussing the onset of the technology ChatGPT. And the second video I'm going to show is this young lady, Tinet Gabdu. Tinet, I hope I'm saying it correctly, Tinet Gabdu. She's an Ethiopian American AI researcher that has an ethical research team to ensure that artificial intelligence doesn't become the Terminator. All right, so let me pull up the first video. I'll add my commentary to the videos moving forward, and let's go ahead and get started here.
It's passing the test required for medical licenses and business degrees. I don't know if you saw this or not. Pull up a little bit so we can kind of cover this. So the viral chatbot that has raised concerns from teachers and academics over its ability to cheat on essays and exam has now passed a Wharton MBA final exam, the United States medical licensing exam, and components of the bar exam. And this thing's only been around since November, by the way. A Wharton professor conducted a study in which he used OpenAI GPT-3, the language model on which it is built on, to take a final exam of a core MBA course. He concluded that GPT-3 would have received a B to B minus on the exam. The Professor Christian Terwish found that GPT-3 performed the best at basic operations management and processing analysis questions. For these, the chatbot provided both correct answers and excellent explanation as to why an answer was selected. In the paper summary, teacher acknowledged that GPT-3 is by no means perfect. At times, the bot made mistakes in simple mathematical calculations and wasn't able to handle more advanced process analysis questions. The study further fueled the conversation that academics are now having as a result of GPT-3, GPT, advanced writing skills regarding exam policies, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, some professors are extremely concerned. Some are worried. Some are saying this could question the existing business model, teaching model, universities. How concerned are you? How excited are you? How little do you care about this?
I don't think anybody is worried enough. I think the hazard of what we're facing is almost beyond what we can imagine. And that is, I'm saying that even though I know what you have to focus on if you want to comfort yourself that this isn't so terrible. You know, you can focus on the fact that this model has no capacity to be conscious, right? It's simulating meaning without knowing what it's saying. But I don't know how long that lasts. I do know that this is a pretty good spot check of where we are in the trajectory that results in general artificial intelligence. And I don't think we are remotely ready for what's coming. And I will point to the most obvious of these problems is already critical, and you're hinting at it in what you're reading here. But the fact that it is going to become extremely difficult to assess actual competence it should alarm us at the highest level, right? To have the possibility, you could have a conference of people all consulting whatever descendant of ChatGPT happens to be available at the time and talking to each other as if they know what they're talking about. You know, we've already got a problem with our experts who don't mostly seem to know what they're talking about. This is going to be, 100 times as bad in a world where they can be consulting something that sounds very knowledgeable and may in fact.
So how crazy is that, where we have scientists, engineers, and researchers who are utilizing this technology, building up this technology, and at the same time they're unsure of what they're doing. And this happens all the time. As a software business analyst, and I've been in the industry for over a decade, I'm letting you know that this happens all the time, where you are designing something, coding something, and you really can't explain what happened, whether it's good or bad. You just did it. This can pose some serious concerns, can pose some serious problems, because if something goes wrong, you don't know what the root cause is or where it came from. So now you're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to find the root cause. Who knows how long that's going to take? And once you find the root cause, how are you going to fix it? And what is the cost of that time? How much time does it take to find the problem? How much damage has been done before you can correct the problem? So this, try not to be negative Nancy, negative Ned, whomever you want to use, but this is what we're talking about. So let's continue.
Be completely on the wrong track, which I would point out is another argument, and maybe even a much stronger argument, for including real-world physical interactions in which you do not have to assess whether or not somebody knows what they're doing. They either fixed your engine or they didn't, right? It either runs or it doesn't. Those kinds of things are not going to be easily faked, though even they, right? A mechanic who does not know what he's doing but is able to consult this device in order to figure out what is likely causing a problem is going to become less and less capable. So I don't know what we're supposed to do about it, but I do know we're not ready. We're not ready, and the rate at which this is going to get better is clear, right? Exposing it to larger and larger data sets is going to make it better and better at simulating this kind of interaction. And that's if it stays unconscious. The question of what happens if this doesn't stay unconscious, or this stays unconscious, but its descendant picks up consciousness, is even more troubling. And
But go to ugly place. Good, bad, ugly. Worst.
So let's stop right there for a second. So as you just stated, what happens when ChatGPT version 12 kicks in, where the parent is not conscious, the parent is unconscious, but ChatGPT 12 is now conscious. So it's already learned. What the parent has done, but now it knows what to do. That's when we enter a different realm of technology, right? When the unconscious becomes conscious. And what are the fail safes to prevent that from occurring? They're already creating AI ethical laws overseas right now. But again, we have to be cautious moving forward with this type of technology. Let's continue on.
Worst case, what happens? Is it the fear that? I actually want you to go there before I tell you what I think is the fear for some people.
Okay. First of all, we don't need ChatGPT to take us to the worst case scenario. We are already losing our capacity to understand the world we live in, to manage the tools that we are creating, to live in harmony with each other. We are losing those things in the present prior to ChatGPT. All of those problems get worse. This is like an accelerant, right? This is like you had a house fire and then you just threw gasoline on it, right? Now we have a raging house fire. So I don't know that this is or isn't the thing, but I do know it's not going to help. At this moment, we can't deal with this. And this is not the last time that's going to happen, by the way, right? We had a world, we had an internet, and then we dumped smartphones into it. And it was like an accelerant. It took the derangement that was arising out of natural algorithmic processes within the internet, and they got vastly worse when people were constantly confronted with their phone and the ability to interact in this way all the time. So we've seen that. We're going to see it again with fusion power. Fusion power, which I believe is the one technology that potentially bootstraps us out of the system we're in and into one that is sustainable. But if you just added it to the system tomorrow, if you read the paper tomorrow and turned out we'd accomplished scalable fusion, it would likely make things worse and not better because we're not ready for the world that it creates. So I don't know what the name of that problem is, but the we're not ready for that problem is a very serious one, and we can swap in one technology after another, and it's a disaster.
So does ChatGPT?
So let me pivot here for a moment. That's Brett Weinstein. I believe he's a medical biologist. He has a podcast called Dark Horse, and he's being interviewed by Mr. David and on Valuetainment. But I'd like to pivot here for a moment and bring up Miss Timonit Gebru, the Ethiopian American AI researcher and data scientist, because so Brent was talking about traveling down this road of the road to nowhere, basically. And one of the leading champions of ethical technology is this young lady that I'm going to bring up here. Let me go. There's an article on in Time magazine that I'll put the link on this broadcast. I'll put the link so you can pull it up yourself. But in this article, she discusses the fact that she got fired from Google for raising these issues with them. Again, she's working with predominantly white male audience, and she was fired for bringing up these issues. Let me pull up the article here, and let's see. So this is an article in Time Magazine. Let me get from the start here. Time Magazine. The article is titled "Why Timnit Gebru Isn't Waiting for Big Tech to Fix AI's Problem." So this is her right here. She currently has a funded think tank called DARE, D-A-I-R, I believe, DARE Institute, after she was let go from Google. But in this article, which was published, it's like it was republished January 18th of this year, 2020. I'm sorry, last year. I'm sorry, 2022. This is 2023. This article was published last year, and this article is about her discovery, her questioning the issues with AI, artificial intelligence. So she was hired. Google hired her in 2018. But when she created a paper, a series of research papers questioning the ethics of this large language AI model, the heads of Google let her go. This is going to be, so it states here, you know, we all know who Google is. Google is a world leader in AI research also. So we may know Google as far as being a data center, you know, head of all technology. But it's the world leader in AI, artificial intelligence research. The industry is forecasted to contribute at least $15.7 trillion in the global economy by 2030. And but again, so she created these research papers. She raised the question of the ethics of this technology, because primarily the coding of artificial intelligence is being done by white men. Very few people of color, very few people outside of men are coding and creating this technology. So this raises a concern as far as biases, inherited biases. So in this paragraph, it states that so her research paper was presented to the insiders within Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, and Google themselves. So it says here, the dispute didn't just raise concerns about whether corporate behemoths like Google's parent company Alphabet could be trusted to ensure this technology benefited humanity and not just their bottom line. So a lot of this technology is driven strictly by money, and these people are not concerned about how it truly benefits the human race as a whole, humanity. It also brought attention to important questions. If artificial intelligence is trained on data from the real world, who loses out when that data reflects systemic injustices? So already they've coded in inherited biases. So a lot of the data is based off of information that's already out there. So you're not creating anything new with artificial intelligence. You're just basically coding in the system that's already in place now. You're not trying to create a better world for everyone with artificial intelligence. You're just encoding artificial intelligence with the system already in place. So artificial intelligence is working with the status quo. It's working with an inherited, unequal, unequitable system already in place, and it's utilizing that information to its benefit. Were the companies at the forefront of AI really listening to the people they had hired to mitigate those harms? And in the quest for AI dominance, again, we're talking about corporate America. Corporate America is not concerned about humanity, not concerned about justice or equality. They're concerned about making money, the bottom line. And in the quest for AI dominance, who gets to decide what kind of collateral damage is acceptable? Collateral damage, usually you use that word when it comes to the insurance companies or the military. For the past decade, AI has been quietly seeping into daily life, from facial recognition to digital assistants like Siri or Alexa. These largely unregulated uses of AI are highly lucrative for those who control them, but are already causing real-world harms to those who are subjected to them. False arrest, healthcare discrimination, and the rise of and pervasive surveillance. In the case of policing, can disproportionately affect Black people and disadvantaged socioeconomic groups. So you can see why this is a major concern. So Gebru is a leading figure in a constellation of scholars, activists, regulators, technologists collaborating to reshape ideas about what AI is and what it should be. And again, I'll provide a link for this article, but let me pull up a video. She had a TED Talk. And again, before I do that, let me highlight the fact that she does have a research institute. It's the Distributed AI Research Institute, also called DARE, an independent research group. She hopes will grapple with how to make AI work for everyone. So let me pull up this video of her. Give me one moment.
What I want to talk to you about today are the invisible algorithms that are all over our lives, but that are not as glamorous as this robot, but that are, I think, more important. AI right now is being used to manage our electric systems, power systems, driving systems, trading. So sometimes you see the market going up, down, and up again, trying to figure out who to hire and who not to hire. And if you are interested in learning about how pervasive these data-driven algorithms are in our lives and some of the unintended consequences that might come because of that pervasiveness, I recommend that you read Weapons of Math Destruction or Automating Inequality. AI is also used in our government. So how many of you have heard of this 2016 ProPublica article that talked about software that purports to predict someone's likelihood of committing a crime again? So how many of you have heard? So judges use this prediction as one of the inputs to decide how many years to sentence someone to prison for. I recently signed a letter against something called the Extreme Vetting Initiative. And this was an initiative proposed by ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. ICE has been in the news lately. What they were proposing was to partner with tech companies to analyze someone's social network activity and to help them determine whether this person would be a good immigrant or not, whether this person is likely to commit a terrorist act or not, whether this person would be a good citizen. Now, I want to stop here and say there are two questions we can ask, right? The first one is whether or not we should have tools that are doing this in the first place. But the second question I want to address today is that the current AI tools, the automated tools that we have to do this task, are not robust enough to be used in such high-stakes scenarios. So let me give you an example. A young Palestinian woke up one day and wrote "Good morning" in Arabic on Facebook. And it got translated to "attack them" and to English. And Israeli authorities looked at the English translation. They didn't try to see what he wrote in Arabic, and they arrested him. They later let him go, but they arrested him. And so this idea of people not applying their critical thinking skills to algorithms, the way they would do to you and I, it's called automation bias. And for me, I think that the combination of automation bias with these systematic errors that we have in our tools is very dangerous. Another tool that one might think being applied to social analysis of social networks is word embeddings. So think of word embeddings as a space where words that are deemed to be similar to each other are closer in this space than words that are deemed to be different. So you can use these word embeddings to train analogy detectors. And my colleague, Adam Kalai, and his collaborators recently showed that these analogies can encode societal biases. So I'll give you an example. So you have an analogy: man is to brother as woman is to sister. Man is to king as woman is to queen. Man is to doctor as woman is to nurse. Why? See? So that's what it gives you, but this is a societal bias. Man is to computer programmer as woman is to, gives us homemaker. So you might ask, why? Okay, so there are these biases in this thing called word embeddings. Why should I care about this? Well, you can imagine an automated tool that's being used to analyze resumes, right? So let's say I'm a recruiter. I'm trying to find someone who's a computer programmer whose skills are close to someone with computer programming skills. So I might see things like Java, Python, C++ in the resume. But I might also see that this person is a quarterback at the University of Vermont. This tells me this person is most likely to be a white male. And I might have a similar resume, exact same qualifications, but this person now is a softball team captain at Spelman College, which is a historically black college, so for women, and so this person is most likely to be a black female softball captain, right? So now if I have this tool that's telling me that the distance of the black female to computer programming is much higher than the white male, then you're propagating these biases, right? So we're propagating biases in ways that we don't even understand right now. One other tool that I want to talk about that is, once again, heavily used in government and law enforcement is face recognition. So I encourage all of you to read the Perpetual Lineup Report, which talks about the fact that 1 in 2 American adults use some face recognition database. 1 in 2. And once again, we have two questions here. One is whether we should even have such a surveillance AI system in the first place. But the second thing I want to talk about is whether or not the face recognition tools that we currently have are robust enough to be conducting such a surveillance in such high-stakes scenarios. And my answer is no. So you all might have heard about the highly publicized Google Photos classifying some black people as gorillas. And my colleague Joy Bulamini and I had a paper talking about basically describing the fact that commercial gender classification systems have very high error rates for particularly women of darker skin tones. So what is a gender classification system? Think of it as, it's a system, I show it an image, and it tells me the gender of the face in the image. Okay? I show it an image of a face. And it just gives me a binary label, male, female. It doesn't handle any other types. to. Here you see, so I'm showing you the error rates as you go darker and darker in skin tone. So let's look at IBM, for example. For the lighter skinned group, you have an error rate of 5.1%, and then you get to 46.8%, which is almost random chance error rate. So our tools are not robust enough to be used in the manner that we're using them right now. We don't know what kinds of biases we're propagating because all of these little AI tools are being strung together and being used in very high-stakes scenarios. So what are the solutions? I have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers. I have some ideas for some parts of the solution. So in my community, my research community, there are a lot of people, including me, who research technical solutions, so bake in some mathematical notion of fairness. But I want to say that before we even get there, we can't ignore social and structural problems. We can't ignore the fact that there are certain groups of people who are heavily policed, who are the groups of people who might be adversely affected by these biases, by these surveillance practices. And who are the groups of people who are involved in creating this technology and distributing it, right? They look like this. They don't look like the people who are being surveilled and heavily policed and adversely being impacted by this technology. Currently, we don't have any rules or regulations or standards to figure out what kind of tools you can use for which purpose. And I'm advocating for standards, laws, and documentation. So I want to close by saying a bunch of other industries have been here. AI is not the first one. So for example, I come from a hardware background, and I used to design circuits, and in circuits we have something called a datasheet. So every component, from as simple as a resistor to as complicated as a CPU, comes with something called a datasheet that tells you standard recommended operating characteristics, disclaimers, etc. Anybody heard of a datasheet? No? Okay. And I'm advocating, I think we need to have data sheets for data sets and some of these automated tools that are being used in different places. We need to have information about recommended usage. For example, if you're going to use high face recognition algorithms for high-stakes scenarios, that needs to have a very different characteristic for some toy application. We need to have standards that describe this. And so my colleagues and I have written a paper fleshing out this idea.
Sorry, I just want to stop it there. So she obviously raised some valid points. There most definitely needs to be a standard sheet, a schematic sheet that has to be followed in order to make sure and ensure that this technology creates a Star Trek future, right? A future that is equal for everyone, and not some crazy, confusing, biased technology that only benefits the chosen few. So again, I encourage all people of color, men and women, to become coders, to get involved in artificial intelligence, and in aiding this fight, this movement, to ensure that the technology that we do use benefits everyone. Okay, being a black male, my concern is that currently it's not. I have daughters, and I want to ensure that their future is a beautiful and bright one. That's it for today. Thank you for your time. If you're interested in setting up an appointment, contact kusolife.com. Get on there if you like what I'm saying. Hit the like button and subscribe. Until then, you folks have a great day.